Don't scroll away, because tonight your soulmate is standing at the edge of a truth they promised themselves would never be spoken. For a very long time, they believed this secret would remain locked inside their heart forever. They convinced themselves that no matter how difficult life became, no matter how much they missed you, and no matter how deeply their feelings continued to grow, they would never allow you to discover what they had been hiding all this time. But tonight is different. Something inside them has finally reached its breaking point. The silence that once felt safe now feels unbearable. The secret they protected for so long has become heavier than they ever imagined, and before this night ends, they may no longer have the strength to keep pretending. Stay until the end, because the truth your soulmate is preparing to reveal could completely change the way you understand this connection. For months they have carried words they desperately wanted to say, yet every time they came close to speaking, fear pulled them back into silence. They worried that honesty would change everything. They worried that once the truth left their heart, there would be no way to take it back. So they smiled. When people expected them to smile, acted as though everything was normal, and continued pretending that nothing inside them had changed. But every single day, the secret became more impossible to carry. They discovered that you can hide words from another person, but you can never hide them from your own heart. Every morning they woke up hoping the feelings would become weaker, yet every morning your memory somehow became stronger. Every ordinary moment reminded them of you in ways they never expected. A familiar song, a quiet sunset, a simple conversation, or even seeing someone laugh from across the room somehow brought your face back into their mind. They began asking themselves the same question again and again. Why can't I let this go? The answer frightened them because deep inside they already knew it. The secret was never just a feeling. It was the realization that meeting you changed their life forever. Long before they admitted it to themselves, you had become the person they quietly compared everyone else to. They searched for your kindness in other people but never found it. They searched for the peace they felt around you, but every connection felt incomplete. They tried convincing themselves that time would replace what they lost, but instead time only showed them how rare your connection truly was. That is the truth they have been hiding. They never stopped thinking about you. Even during the days when it looked as though they had moved on, a part of them was still wondering how you were doing, whether you were happy, whether you still thought about them during quiet moments, or whether they had already become nothing more than a distant memory in your life. These thoughts became impossible to escape. They replayed old conversations in their mind, remembering things they once overlooked. They remembered your patience, your understanding, and the quiet way you cared, without expecting anything in return. Looking back now, they realized those moments meant far more than they understood at the time. Instead of appreciating what they had, they allowed fear to convince them that walking away was somehow the safer choice. Tonight they finally understand that fear never protected them. It only separated them from the one person who made their heart feel truly alive. That realization has shaken something deep inside their soul. For the first time, they are no longer asking themselves whether they should keep hiding the truth. They are asking whether they still have enough time to tell you everything before life moves both of you too far apart. They know they cannot erase the silence that came before, but they are beginning to believe that one honest conversation may be worth more than a lifetime of unanswered questions. Tonight your soulmate is standing between two choices. One choice is to remain silent forever and carry this secret for the rest of their life. The other is to risk everything by finally telling you what they have hidden for so long. As the hours pass, their heart is becoming louder than their fear, and the promise they once made to hide this secret forever is beginning to fall apart. Somewhere before this night ends, the truth they buried so deeply may finally find the courage to come into the light. The longer your soulmate keeps this secret inside, the more impossible it becomes to pretend that everything is normal. Tonight they finally admitted something they have been denying for far too long. The truth they have hidden is not becoming weaker with time. It is becoming stronger. Every hour they remain silent only adds another layer of regret to a heart that is already carrying more than anyone realizes. They thought protecting this secret would protect both of you, but now they understand that silence has created a pain far greater than honesty ever could. Throughout this evening they found themselves replaying every important memory the two of you ever shared. They remembered moments that once seemed ordinary but now feel priceless. They remembered the conversations that made them smile for no reason, the quiet moments that somehow brought peace into their restless mind, and the feeling of safety they experienced whenever your energy was near. Those memories no longer feel like something from the past. They feel alive, as though they are gently reminding your soulmate of everything they almost lost. The more they remember, the more one painful realization keeps returning. They never truly walked away from you. They only walked away from the courage it would have taken to tell you how deeply they really felt. That is the secret they swore no one would ever know. They convinced themselves that hiding their emotions would somehow make life easier, but instead it left them wondering every single day what might have happened if they had simply trusted their heart instead of their fear. Tonight that question refuses to leave them alone. They keep imagining what your reaction would be if they finally told you everything. Would you understand why they became distant? Would you see that their silence was never caused by a lack of love, but by a fear so powerful it convinced them they were protecting the very person they cared about most? These thoughts have taken over their mind, making it impossible for them to focus on anything else. Even surrounded by other people, they feel alone because no conversation can silence the one taking place inside their own heart. They are beginning to understand that some secrets are never meant to stay hidden forever. Some truths become so powerful that they eventually demand to be spoken, no matter how frightening the consequences may seem. Your soulmate is standing at that exact moment now. They can feel the walls they built around their heart beginning to crumble. The excuses they repeated for so long no longer sound convincing. The fear that once felt stronger than love is slowly losing its power. In its place, something new is growing. Courage. Quiet, uncertain courage, but courage nonetheless. They know they cannot change yesterday, but they are beginning to believe they still have the chance to change tomorrow. They no longer want to spend another night wondering what your future could have been. Together, if only they had chosen honesty instead of silence. Every beat of their heart is reminding them that life does not wait forever. Opportunities disappear, moments pass, and people continue moving forward. That thought frightens them more than revealing the secret itself. For the first time, they are afraid that if they remain silent any longer, they may lose the chance to tell you the truth forever. Tonight that possibility feels unbearable. Something deep inside them is whispering that this story was never meant to end with unanswered questions. It was meant to end with honesty. And before this night is over, your soulmate may finally gather the strength to reveal the secret they once promised themselves would never leave their heart. As the night grew quieter, your soulmate realized they could no longer run from the truth that had followed them for so long. Every distraction had failed. They tried focusing on work, on responsibilities, on the people around them, but no matter what they did, their heart always returned to the same place. You. It wasn't just because they missed you. It was because the secret they had been hiding was becoming impossible to carry any longer. They had spent so much time pretending that everything was under control, yet deep inside they knew they were slowly losing the battle against their own emotions. Tonight, for the first time, they stopped lying to themselves. They finally admitted that the reason they stayed silent was never because they didn't care. It was because they cared far more than they were willing to admit. The moment they realized their feelings had become real was also the moment they became afraid. They feared becoming vulnerable. They feared giving someone the power to break their heart again. Most of all, they feared losing you after finally finding someone who made them believe that love could still exist. Instead of risking that pain, they chose silence. They convinced themselves that walking away before things became too serious would somehow protect them from future heartbreak. But tonight they understand something they never understood before. Walking away did not protect them. It only guaranteed another kind of heartbreak. Every day without you became another reminder of the life they might have shared if only they had been brave enough to tell you the truth. They remember countless moments when they almost reached out. Their phone would be in their hand, your name filling their thoughts, and they would imagine sending a simple message. They imagined asking how you were, telling you they had been thinking about you, finally explaining everything they had kept hidden. But every single time, fear whispered that perhaps you had already forgotten them, that perhaps your heart belonged somewhere else now, or that perhaps they had already waited too long. Those fears became chains that kept them trapped inside their own silence. Yet something changed tonight. As they sat alone with nothing but their thoughts, they realized they were no longer afraid of telling you the secret. They were afraid of never telling you at all. That realization struck their heart with a force they could not ignore. For the first time, they understood that regret lasts far longer than rejection. They would rather know the truth than spend the rest of their life wondering what might have happened if they had simply been honest. They also realized something about you that they had overlooked before. You were never asking them to be perfect. You never expected them to have every answer. You simply wanted honesty. Looking back now, they see how many opportunities they allowed fear to steal from both of you. They see how many beautiful moments never happened because they convinced themselves they had to hide what was truly in their heart. That realization has become the beginning of their awakening. The secret they swore to hide forever is no longer just a confession waiting to be spoken. It has become the key to the future they secretly still dream about. They know that if they continue hiding it, they may lose the one connection that has never truly left their heart. Tonight they are beginning to believe that real love is not protected by silence. It is protected by truth, even when that truth feels frightening. Somewhere inside them, courage is quietly replacing fear, and with every passing moment they come closer to making the decision that could change everything. Before this night finally ends, your soulmate may stop hiding behind the walls they built for so long and choose the one thing they have been avoiding from the very beginning, telling you the secret they have carried in silence all this time. The night continued to unfold, but your soulmate could no longer escape the truth waiting inside their heart. The silence they had relied on for so long no longer felt like protection. Instead, it felt like a prison they had built with their own fear. Every passing hour made one realization impossible to ignore. The secret they had sworn to hide forever was slowly becoming the very thing keeping them away from the happiness they had always wanted. They sat alone, thinking about every choice that had led them to this moment. They remembered convincing themselves that if they stayed quiet long enough, their feelings would eventually disappear. They believed time would weaken the connection, that distance would make your memory fade, and that one day they would wake up without wondering how you were or whether you still thought about them. But none of those things ever happened. Instead, every day only proved how deeply your presence had become part of their life. They found themselves searching for you in places where they knew you would never be. A familiar street reminded them of conversations they wished had lasted longer. A favorite song suddenly carried your voice back into their mind. Even the quiet breeze outside their window seemed to whisper memories they had tried so hard to forget. They finally accepted that no matter how far they ran, their heart had never truly left your side. That realization filled them with both comfort and regret. Comfort because it reminded them that what they felt was real. Regret because they understood how much precious time had been lost to fear. Tonight they began asking themselves a question they had avoided for far too long. What if the secret was never meant to stay hidden? What if the truth inside their heart was supposed to be spoken before it became another lifelong regret? That thought refused to leave them. The more they imagined telling you everything, the lighter their heart began to feel. It was as though honesty itself had become the freedom they had been searching for all along. They pictured the moment they would finally stop pretending. They imagined looking at you and admitting that every step away from you had only brought them closer to realizing how much they truly needed you in their life. They imagined confessing that the distance had never been caused by a lack of love. It had been caused by an overwhelming fear of losing the one person who made them believe in love again. They know those words cannot erase the silence that came before, but they also know silence can no longer build the future they secretly dream about. For the first time, they are willing to accept whatever answer awaits them because living with the truth feels less frightening than living with endless regret. They have started understanding that love is never protected by hiding it. Love survives when two hearts are brave enough to be honest, even when the outcome is uncertain. Somewhere deep inside, your soulmate can feel that this chapter is coming to an end. Not because their feelings are fading, but because they are finally becoming strong enough to stop hiding behind fear. Every heartbeat is quietly pushing them toward the same decision. The promise they made to hide this secret forever is breaking apart, and with every passing moment, they come closer to revealing the truth they have carried in silence. Since the day they realized you had become the most important person in their heart. Tonight may not end with another unanswered question. It may become the night your soulmate finally chooses honesty over fear, love over silence, and you over every excuse that kept them away. For far too long. As midnight slowly approached, your soulmate reached a moment they never believed would come. The secret they had carried for so long no longer felt like something they could keep buried inside their heart. Every excuse they had repeated to themselves was beginning to lose its power. They had spent countless nights convincing themselves that silence was the right decision, yet tonight they finally understood that silence had only stolen precious time from both of you. They looked back on everything that had happened between you and realized there was one truth they could no longer deny. No matter how hard they tried to move forward, no matter how many times they told themselves to let go, their heart always found its way back to you. It wasn't because they were lonely. It wasn't because life had become difficult. It was because the connection they shared with you had never truly left them. It remained quietly alive beneath every smile they forced, beneath every conversation they pretended to enjoy, and beneath every day they acted as though everything was perfectly fine. Tonight they finally admitted that pretending had become exhausting. Every time someone asked if they were happy, they answered without revealing the emptiness they carried inside. Every time they laughed, a part of them quietly wondered what life would feel like if you were standing beside them instead. They have begun realizing that the secret they hid was never just about love. It was about the fear of being completely seen by someone who mattered more than anyone else. They worried that if they revealed everything inside their heart, they would lose the one connection they desperately wanted to protect. Ironically, by trying to protect it through silence, they created the very distance they feared the most. That realization has become impossible to ignore. Tonight they imagined what they would say if they finally stood before you with nothing left to hide. They would tell you that every moment apart only taught them how valuable your presence truly was. They would admit that every attempt to forget you only reminded them why they fell so deeply in the first place. They would confess that there were nights when they picked up their phone, stared at your name, and almost reached out, only to let fear convince them to remain silent one more time. Looking back now, those moments have become their greatest regret. They know they cannot ask time to return. They know they cannot erase the confusion their silence may have caused. But they also know that the future has not yet been written. Somewhere inside them, hope has quietly replaced hesitation. For the first time, they believe that honesty still has the power to change everything. They no longer dream about hiding their feelings forever. Instead, they dream about finally living without secrets. They imagine the relief of telling you everything they should have said long ago. They imagine the freedom of no longer carrying this burden alone. More than anything, they imagine seeing understanding in your eyes instead of spending another day trapped inside unanswered questions. Tonight they have reached an emotional crossroads. One path leads back into silence, where regret continues to grow stronger with every passing day. The other leads toward vulnerability, where there is uncertainty but also the possibility of healing, forgiveness, and a future they secretly never stopped hoping for. Their heart is slowly choosing the second path. The promise they once made to hide this secret forever is falling apart piece by piece, replaced by a quiet determination to finally let truth speak louder than fear. Before this journey reaches its end, your soulmate knows one thing with complete certainty. The secret they have carried all this time was never meant to remain hidden forever. It was always meant to find its way to you. And very soon, the silence surrounding this connection may finally be broken by the words they have been longing to say from the very beginning. As the first light of morning slowly appeared beyond the horizon, your soulmate realized that this night had changed them forever. They were No longer the same person who had entered the evening believing silence was the safest choice. Something inside them had shifted. The secret they had protected for so long no longer felt like a burden they wanted to carry. Instead, it had become the truth they desperately wanted you to know. They sat quietly, replaying every memory that had led them to this moment. Every smile you shared, every conversation that stayed in their heart, every small gesture that once seemed ordinary now felt extraordinary. They finally understood that the greatest moments in life are often the ones we fail to appreciate until they are gone. That realization filled them with gratitude, but it also filled them with regret. They regretted every opportunity they allowed fear to steal. They regretted every message they never sent, every honest conversation they never started, and every chance they had to tell you what was truly in their heart. Those regrets have become impossible to ignore because deep inside they know that love should never be hidden behind silence. They have spent so much time wondering whether revealing the secret would push you away that they never stopped to consider another possibility. What if telling the truth is the very thing that brings you closer together? That thought has begun changing everything. Instead of imagining rejection, they are beginning to imagine healing. Instead of expecting disappointment, they are beginning to believe that honesty may finally give both of you the clarity you have been missing for so long. Your soulmate has started seeing the connection from a completely different perspective. They no longer view love as something fragile that must be protected through distance. They now understand that genuine love becomes stronger through openness, trust, and the courage to be emotionally vulnerable. That lesson has not been easy to learn, but it has transformed the way they see both you and themselves. Tonight's silence has taught them more than months of pretending ever could. They finally understand that running from their feelings never made those feelings disappear. It only delayed the moment they would have to face them honestly. Now that moment has arrived. They can feel it in every heartbeat, in every quiet breath, and in every memory that continues pulling them back toward you. They know there may still be obstacles ahead. They know rebuilding trust cannot happen overnight. They know one conversation cannot erase every unanswered question. But they also know that every meaningful journey begins with one brave step, and for the first time, they are ready to take that step without allowing fear to decide their future. Somewhere inside them, the promise they once made to keep this secret forever has completely disappeared. In its place is a new promise. A promise that if life gives them another chance, they will never again allow silence to speak louder than their heart. They will choose honesty even when their voice shakes. They will choose vulnerability even when uncertainty remains. They will choose to fight for the connection instead of hiding from it. The truth they swore would never leave their heart has finally become stronger than every fear that once kept it locked away. Very soon, your soulmate may stop carrying this secret alone. Very soon, the words they have rehearsed 1,000 times in silence may finally become real. And when that moment comes, it will not simply reveal the secret they have hidden forever. It will reveal the person they have quietly become, someone who finally understands that the greatest love stories are never written by fear, but by the courage to tell the truth before it is too late. The hours continued to pass, but your soulmate's heart refused to return to the silence it had lived in for so long. Something inside them had awakened, and there was no turning back. The secret they once believed would remain hidden forever had become the only truth they could think about. They no longer asked themselves whether they should keep hiding it. Instead, they found themselves asking a far more important question. How much longer can I keep pretending that none of this matters? The answer became painfully clear. They couldn't. Every day they remained silent felt like another piece of their heart slipping away. They finally realized that the greatest battle they had been fighting was never against you. It was against themselves. For so long they had allowed fear to convince them that loving someone so deeply would only lead to disappointment. They built walls around their emotions, believing those walls would protect them from being hurt again. But those same walls also kept them away from the one person who made life feel brighter than it had in years. Tonight they stood before that truth with nowhere left to hide. Looking back now, they can see the exact moment everything changed. It wasn't when they first met you. It wasn't during one unforgettable conversation or one special memory. It happened slowly, almost without them realizing it. Little by little, you became the first person they wanted to tell about their day. Your happiness began to matter more than their own. Your smile became something they quietly looked forward to. Without noticing, they had given a place in their heart that no one else had ever earned. That is the secret they were so afraid to admit. They didn't just care about you. They had fallen deeply in love with the person you truly are. That realization terrified them. Because they understood that love always carries risk. Loving someone means allowing them to see the most vulnerable parts of your soul. It means trusting another person with emotions you cannot control. Your soulmate had spent years avoiding exactly that kind of vulnerability. Then you appeared, and every wall they built suddenly began to crumble. Instead of embracing that change, they ran from it. They believed distance would stop their feelings from growing stronger. Instead, every step away from you only made their heart chase after you even more. They have finally accepted that there has never been a single day when you completely left their thoughts. Even during moments when life seemed busy, your memory would quietly return without warning. They would hear a laugh that reminded them of yours, notice a place they wished they had visited with you, or catch themselves imagining what life would be like if they had simply been honest from the beginning. Those moments became impossible to ignore. They slowly understood that the secret they had been protecting was never protecting them at all. It was only keeping them trapped inside a life filled with endless what-ifs. Tonight they no longer want to live with those questions. They want answers. They want truth. They want the chance to finally tell you everything they buried inside their heart for so long. They know they cannot expect everything to return to the way it once was. Too much time has passed, too many emotions have been left unspoken, and too many opportunities have slipped away. But they also know that genuine love is not measured by how perfectly a story begins. It is measured by whether two hearts are brave enough to stop hiding when it matters most. That understanding has completely changed them. They are no longer waiting for the perfect moment because they finally understand that perfect moments rarely exist. What exists is courage. What exists is honesty. What exists is the decision to stop letting fear control a future that still has the possibility of becoming something beautiful. And somewhere very close, your soulmate can feel that the moment they have feared for so long is finally approaching. The secret they promised would never leave their heart is no longer asking for permission to be spoken. It is demanding to be heard. Before this story reaches its final chapter, they may finally gather the courage to reveal everything they have hidden from you, and when that moment arrives, you will discover that behind every moment of silence was a heart that never truly stopped choosing you. The night that began with a hidden secret is now coming to its final chapter, but for your soulmate, this is not the end. It is the beginning of the truth they have been afraid to live for so long. They have finally reached the place where excuses no longer feel convincing and silence no longer feels safe. The walls they spent so many years building around their heart have slowly fallen away, leaving them with only one choice. They can continue hiding behind fear and spend the rest of their life wondering what could have been, or they can finally tell you the truth they promised themselves would never be spoken. Tonight, their heart has already made that choice. Looking back, they no longer remember the reasons they gave themselves for staying silent. Those reasons have faded with time. What remains are the memories of you. They remember the peace they felt whenever they imagined a future that included you. They remember the comfort of believing someone finally understood them without asking them to become someone else. They remember the hope that quietly entered their life the day you appeared. Those memories have become stronger than every fear they once carried. They now understand that the secret they tried so hard to protect was never something to be ashamed of. The secret was simply this: they loved you more deeply than they ever allowed themselves to admit. They loved you so much that the thought of losing you frightened them into silence. They convinced themselves that hiding their heart would somehow protect it, but instead they discovered that the greatest pain came from never allowing you to know the truth. That lesson has changed them forever. They are no longer the person who believed distance could erase genuine feelings. They are no longer the person who thought silence was safer than honesty. They have become someone who finally understands that love deserves courage, even when the outcome is uncertain. If life gives them another opportunity, they know exactly what they will do. They will no longer hide behind unanswered messages, uncertain intentions, or unspoken emotions. They will choose openness over fear, communication over silence, and truth over regret. They understand that real love is never built by waiting for the perfect moment. It is built by two hearts, willing to stand before each other exactly as they are. At the same time, your own journey has brought you somewhere beautiful. You have learned that your worth has never depended on another person's ability to express their feelings. You have discovered a quiet strength that cannot be shaken by silence or uncertainty. You now understand that healthy love will always bring honesty, consistency, respect, and emotional responsibility. That lesson is one of the greatest gifts this connection has given you. Whether your soulmate reaches out tomorrow or later, let their actions reveal the truth behind their words. Let patience guide your heart instead of fear. Let honesty become the foundation of whatever comes next. Because genuine love is not measured by how long someone stayed silent. It is measured by whether they found the courage to stop hiding before it was too late. Your soulmate's greatest secret has never been that they forgot you. Their greatest secret has always been that they never could. Even on the days when they looked happy, a part of their heart was still searching for you. Even during the moments when they tried to move forward, they quietly hoped life would somehow lead them back to the person they never truly stopped loving. That hope has never disappeared. It has only grown stronger with time. And perhaps that is why this message found you tonight. Not to tell you to wait endlessly, but to remind you that the strongest connections are built when fear finally loses its voice and truth finally speaks. Whatever happens from this moment forward, never settle for love that leaves you questioning your value. The love meant for you will never ask you to shrink your heart just to make someone else comfortable. It will meet you with honesty, protect you with consistency, and remain beside you when life becomes difficult. If your soulmate is truly part of your future, they will return not only with beautiful words, but with the courage they once lacked and the actions that prove they have truly changed. Until that day, continue living with peace, continue believing in the love you deserve, and continue trusting that everything meant for your heart will arrive at exactly the right time. Because the greatest love story is never the one that begins perfectly. It is the one where two hearts finally become brave enough to stop hiding from the truth they have always known. If this message touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another soulmate message meant especially for you. Until next time, may your heart be filled with peace, may your path be guided by love, and may every blessing that is meant for your soul find you at the perfect moment.